I think some of us need to be more passenger princesses with God. Let him guide us. Let us just sit there. Let us surrender what we need to surrender and just sit and be patient and enjoy the presence of God.
What a beautiful day. Found a love of my dreams. Nothing gonna come in between. No, they say the grass is green. Yeah, I know what that means.
Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome back to another video. How are you guys doing today? I am doing great. Today's message is some tea, baby. It is some tea because it is something that I feel like we need to be constantly doing to ourselves, and I don't do this enough. The title of it is Check Your Faith. You ever had somebody check you before and you'd be like, oh, this message is called Check Your Faith, but also a part of the title is called Our Power is Our Faith. And so we're going to be jumping around. We're going to be like skedaddling all the way around the Bible today. So the power of faith over a demon. So starting in verse 14 of Mark 9, it says, when they came to the disciples, they saw a large crowd around them and the scribes disputing with them. When the whole crowd saw him, Jesus, they were amazed and ran to greet him. He asked them, what are you arguing with them about? Someone from the crowd answered, Teacher, I brought my son to you. He has a spirit that makes him unable to speak. Whenever it seizes him, it throws him down, and he foams at the mouth, grinds his teeth, and becomes rigid. I asked your disciples to drive it out, but they couldn't. He replied to them, You unbelieving generation, how long will I be with you? How long must I put up with you? Bring him to me. So they brought him the boy. When the spirit saw him, it immediately threw the boy into convulsions. He fell to the ground and rolled around, foaming at the mouth. How long has this been happening to him? Jesus asked his father. From childhood, he said, and many times it has thrown him into fire or water to destroy him. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us. Jesus said to him, If you can, everything is possible to the one who believes. Immediately the father of the boy cried out, I do believe, help my unbelief. When Jesus saw that a crowd was quickly gathering, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to it, You mute and deaf spirit, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again. Then it came out, shrieking and throwing him into terrible convulsions. The boy became like a corpse, so that many said, He's dead. But Jesus, taking him by the hand, raised him and stood up. After he had gone into the house, his disciples asked him privately, Why couldn't we drive it out? And he told them, This kind has come by nothing but prayer and fasting. So starting back in the beginning, on verses 18, he said, I asked your disciples to drive it out, but they couldn't. There was a time where I felt stuck. And this was like, there was a time, this was like 2 weeks ago. I felt very heavy. I felt very depressed. I felt very just upset with myself and sad and whatever. And so what did I do? I started watching podcasts. I started watching YouTube videos. I started watching church. Then I started Googling it. Started Googling how to fix things. What should I be doing differently? I started Googling just the best way to feel unstuck, right? And then after that, I went to the bookstore and I bought probably, I want to say 4 or 5 books. I'm not joking you. This was 2 weeks ago. I bought 4 or 5 books, right? And then I came home and I started reading a book and it just wasn't answering the question that I needed. God was like, why don't you just ask me? And it just, in that moment, was like that. And I was like, oh. And I was like, I literally have been stressed out. I've been looking at podcasts. I've been looking on YouTube videos. I've been talking to my mother about it. I've been talking to my best friend about it. I've been reading books on it. I have done everything else but went to the source. God. He is the creator of the universe. He is the creator of me. And why could I not ask him why I felt that way? So then it says, then when we do go to God, we go to God with doubt in our heart. So when we're looking at verses 22, it says, but if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us. When we go out to eat, we know that what we order, that it's going to come to us, right? If I ask you for salmon and broccoli and mashed potatoes, I know I'm not about to be delivered a pizza, right? And when we get on a plane, we know that we're going to get from point A to point B. You might be scared, but you know when you book that flight that you know that you're going to get from point A to point B. We're not worried about that part. We're not stressed about that part because we trust in that process, right? So why is it that when we go to our Creator, that when we go to God, when we ask God, why do we go to God with the if you can mentality? We don't order our food and then say, if you can you make sure not to deliver me the wrong meal? We just know that it's going to happen. And so verses 23, Jesus said, if I can, everything is possible for the one who believes. But let me tell you something. God does not lie, right? He doesn't lie. He never lied to us. Jesus will never lie to us, not once. Everything is possible for the one who believes. God didn't say some things. Jesus didn't say maybe one thing. Everything is possible for the one who believes. And if we believe that Jesus never lies and we believe that it's true, then so much more is possible for our life. And we need to check our faith. So let's talk about mustard seed of faith because it's talked about a lot in the Bible. So we're going to start with Mark 4 and we're going to do verses 30 to 32. And he said, with what can we compare the kingdom of God, or what parable can we use to describe it? It's like a mustard seed that can be sown upon the soil, is the smallest of all seeds on the ground, and when sown it comes up and grows taller than all the garden plants and produces large branches so that the birds of the sky can nest in its shade. Let's go to Luke for a second. We're going to do Luke 17, 5 through 6. And it says, faith and duty. So the apostles said to the Lord, increase our faith. If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, the Lord said, you can say to the mulberry tree, be uprooted and planted in the sea, and it will obey you. I'm hopping back over to Mark, and I'm looking at Mark chapter 4, verses 38 to 39. So this is the part where the disciples are in the boat, and the waves are going crazy, and they are like freaking out because they think that they're going to die, right? And so Jesus is in the boat, and it says in verse 38, he, Jesus, was in the stern sleeping on the cushion. So they woke him up and said to him, teacher, don't you care that we're going to die? He got up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, silence, be still. The wind ceased, and there was a great calm. Then he said to them, why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith? And I know I'm jumping around, but just bear with me for a second. So we're going to Matthew, and we're looking at 17, and it's verses 19 and 20. So it says, then the disciples approached Jesus privately and said, why couldn't we drive it out? And he said, because of your little faith, he told them, for truly I tell you, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will tell the mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. So how many times in the Bible does Jesus have to tell us to have faith? And after this, how many times do we still not have faith in him? The only thing that can come to my head, this example, is let's say you've had a miscarriage and you're like, I just really want a kid, but I can't. And Jesus is just telling you, just try for me one more time. And you're like, no, I'm not doing that again. I'm never putting myself through that again. And Jesus is like, just try for me one more time. Let me handle this. Like, just all I'm asking you to do is what I say, which is to try again. If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, he's saying that you can move mountains. You can tell trees to move. You can do this. You can do that. And he said, how do y'all have little faith? Why does every time that you come to me, you got little faith? So me and my best friend yesterday were watching Love is Blind until 2:00 in the morning, right? And I had already saw it. It came out on Valentine's Day. And so I had already saw it on Valentine's Day. So let's say we started watching it on the 19th. I've already seen it, right? So I already knew what was going to happen. I already knew the parts that were going to be like, oh my goodness moment. And I already knew the parts that were going to be funny. I already knew the parts that were like, the tea is hot, because I had already seen it. God already knows our life. Jesus already knows our life from beginning to end. That's why he died on the cross, already knowing what our sins were going to be, all of us. Why do we have so little faith? We have to check our faith. Because what happens is that there's never going to be something that you do that is going to surprise them. Because they already know it. He already asked his disciples. So he went to every other source and he's like, it's not working. Now I'm going to go to you last, God. And I'm hoping that if you can do something. And Jesus is like, if I can. Everything is possible if you just believe. Like, can you have some faith in me? Like, I get it didn't work out with all these other sources, but you didn't go to the main source. You didn't come to me. This kind can come out by nothing but prayer and fasting. The devil gives you the spirit of doubt because he knows that if you doubt yourself, then you'll doubt your creator. And if you doubt your creator, you won't move and walk in the steps and in faith, and you won't do what God tells you to do. There are going to be times in your life where you need to move in faith. There are going to be times in your life where you don't know whether this job is going to work out, whether this relationship is going to work out, whether, you're going to be able to have another kid or, just whatever the situation is. We all are living crazy lives on earth, but the devil's job is to be deceitful. And if he can make you doubt, then you can doubt your creator. And if you doubt your creator, that's it. Our power. So they always say, like, we're just like Jesus in so many ways. And I always thought, like, okay, well, I'm just like Jesus, but the only thing I don't have is I can't work miracles in my life. Jesus can. And let me tell you something. I'm not saying we're Jesus because we are far from that. Trust and believe. We are far from Jesus, but we do have powers. Whether you believe so or whether you don't believe so, we do have powers. And our power is our faith. Jesus wouldn't put in the Bible so many times about the parable of a mustard seed if it wasn't important. We can move mountains. We can move trees. And I'm not telling you that you're going to go outside and become like some, pulling up dirt from your thoughts and, being a mind shifter or whatever it is. But I'm saying that our power is in our faith. And when we have the faith to do something, when we believe in God to handle something, when we surrender our life, when we surrender our job, when we surrender our relationship, when you surrender your kids, when you surrender all of that and say, God, I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know what you're going to do, but I know that you'll fix this. That is our power. And when we surrender it and we have faith that God is going to move those mountains for us in our life, trust and believe they're going to happen. Now all we got to do is sit there and wait. You guys ever seen those memes about being a passenger princess? And you're just a passenger in the car and you're just a princess and, your man drives you around and all you got to do is just sit there and be pretty. That's what it's like when you are walking with Jesus. Surrender it. Because you already know, as a passenger princess, you're going to get your coffee, you're going to get your Target runs, you're going to get, whatever it is out, or you're just going to spend time with the person who is driving the vehicle. And you're going to get from point A to point B. You're not stressed about it. You can just be in the presence of whoever you're with. And I think some of us need to be more passenger princesses with God. Let him guide us. Let us just sit there. Let us surrender what we need to surrender and just sit and be patient and enjoy the presence of God. Where in your life are you not having faith in God? Where has God ever failed you? And I mean genuinely failed you, not like, oh, well, I asked for this bike and I never got it. Okay, that's not him failing you. That's him not giving it to you. Not God is not a genie. Not everything you ask for. And it's like, oh, well, I've had somebody die in my life, and if God really loved me, he would have never let them leave me. But we're here for God's purpose. We're not here for us. It's okay to say, God, I don't know how you're going to do this in my life. I don't know. I can't figure it out for myself. And I don't know what you have planned. I don't know if this is even the plan that you have for me, but I'm surrendering this to you, and I trust you, and I love you, and I know that you can handle this. God, I'm sick. God, I'm not happy. God, my relationship with my family, my relationship with my kids, my relationship with my man, my relationship with my friendships, my job. I don't want to handle this anymore. I trust you with it. God, can you show me how you're going to make a difference and change these things? And then just sit back. Sit back and be that passenger princess. And I'm not saying that God's not going to tell you to do something, because be prepared to get out the car. Okay? Be prepared to get out the car at some point. Be prepared to make that action whenever God tells you to, but also just sit there and know that he's in control, and that you don't gotta know every answer, and you don't have to be in control of your life. Let it go. Let that control go. Check your faith. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.